Hello and welcome to SureenaSpeaks. My name is Serena and I'm a pharmacist, and this video is for members of parliament, members of the public, particularly those of you who take medicines, know of someone who takes medicines, so basically for everyone. Now, I've read over the debate regarding the medicines shortage protocol. I've also read the article that Chemist and Druggist made regarding that debate, and I've read numerous comments surrounding this debate. And one thing that is common throughout all those comments, and that is people still don't know what pharmacists do. Now, I want to make it very clear, this video is not about my opinion or what stance I take regarding the medicines shortage protocol. This video is about the debate that happened and some comments and some quotes that were made from that debate, which I really want to touch upon. I've written it in my little book, so I will be referring to that as I'm talking. And I think it might come as maybe a shock to some people, but medicines shortages isn't something new. It's something that pharmacists have had to deal with for years. It's just now it's being made more apparent, now it's being highlighted, and only now it's actually being made aware of. But this is actually something that pharmacists have had to deal with for many, many years. Yeah, because of Brexit, has probably got worse. But this isn't something new. And you can speak to any pharmacist and they will tell you that they will get a phone call from a doctor and they will say, I have a patient in front of me, patient A, let's say, and they are currently on this medication, but actually this medication is no longer available. What do you recommend? Or you might have a patient comes in with a prescription, you know the medication on that prescription is no longer available or there's a current shortage on it, so you'll ring up the doctor and say, okay, this medicine isn't available, what about prescribing this one instead? Or you might say to the doctor, this medicine isn't available, what would you like to do in this instance? And then they are usually the one that then says to you, being the pharmacist, what would you recommend? So that person that said that we are not necessarily skilled to make those judgments, yeah, we are, because we've been doing it for years. We have to continually enhance our knowledge through continual professional development, CPDs, to stay on the register to be a pharmacist. If you don't know what a CPD is, go and look it up. So we are definitely trained, definitely skilled and competent in making those judgments, and we will always have conversations with the GP to clarify those judgments. So saying that we're not skilled, it's kind of not true, because we are. Someone else said that pharmacists are skilled professionals in medicines and medicines management, but they are not specialist prescribers. Those are independent pharmacy prescribers, or pharmacist independent prescribers even. I think they might disagree with you on that a little bit. And whilst doctors out there, they are great when it comes to knowing about an actual condition, pharmacists are the experts when it comes to medication, which is why it's a beautiful relationship between a GP and pharmacist and when they work together, because you're getting two specialities coming together, working together towards the benefit of a patient. Now, Norman Lamb, throughout the debate, spoke a lot about anti-epileptic medication and the importance of patients being maintained on the same brand. Now, that is true. But what he didn't mention is that it's true if they are on a category 1 anti-epileptic medication. Anti-epileptic medication can be categorized in 3 categories, category 1, 2 and 3. Very conveniently named. Category 1, yes, it is so important that patients aren't changed from one brand to another. With category 2, doesn't really matter so much, and with category 3, it most certainly doesn't matter. And Anne-Marie Morris was quoted saying that people think that generics are the same thing as branded drugs, but they are not. Now, again, when it comes to anti-epileptic medication, particularly category 1, yes, you are right in saying that. But you can't make such a sweeping statement because there are situations where generics and branded are the same thing. I'll give you an example. Find a medicine and look at its PL number. You might find that that PL number of that medication is found in another packet, but this packet is a bit more pretty, a bit more swanky, and guess what? It's 3 times more expensive. But if that medicine has the same PL number as that medicine in what looks like a generic variety form, it's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. You could think of it as a blue t-shirt. A blue t-shirt that you buy from Primark, other retailers are available, but you buy a blue t-shirt from Primark. It will keep you warm, it might keep you looking trendy, it will serve its purpose. Stick a little blue tick on that and suddenly you've got a blue t-shirt which is now branded because it looks like it's from Nike. And yeah, you know what? It might be made from slightly nicer material, but it will still keep you warm and it'll still keep you looking trendy. It will serve the same purpose. It's the same with medication, generic or branded. It will contain the same active ingredient. Yeah, in some branded medicines, they might have a bit more nicer ingredients in there, might make the medicine taste a little bit better or easier to swallow, for example. But essentially, it is the same thing and it will serve the same purpose. But I do acknowledge that when it comes to anti-epileptic medication, yes, category 1, it is so important that patients aren't interchanged. But to make a sweeping statement that generics and branded are definitely 2 different things, no, not always the case. So Jonathan Ashworth, who spoke at this debate, he was quoted saying that the BMA, the British Medical Association, stated that they should have been given far more time to adequately consider the government's proposals for change. I agree on this. What I don't understand though is that a doctor got to speak at this debate, the opinion of the British Medical Association got asked about this debate. Where was the representative pharmacist? Why weren't pharmacists invited or asked to speak at this debate? This doesn't just involve doctors, this heavily involves pharmacists, and yet you've not included a spokesperson for pharmacy to speak. Don't know how that makes sense. So Jonathan Ashworth then went on to say, and I quote, "It will effectively mean that a GP's prescription can be changed by a pharmacist. No longer would a medicine be prescribed by a doctor who knows the medical history of the patient." Anne-Marie Morris then went on to further question that pharmacists won't have access to patient notes. Now this again shows the lack of knowledge of what pharmacists can do, because some pharmacists, like myself, can actually access a patient's summary care records. Given that we have the patient's consent, that is something that we can view. So by saying that we can't see a patient's medical history, yes we can. And if they're one of our regular patients, we will have their own patient medical record on our system. Helen Goodman then went on to say, "What is the point of doctors having all this training if anybody without it is suddenly able to dole out prescriptions?" This goes back to my earlier point that as pharmacists, we are already having to make recommendations to doctors. It's normal practice for us. This is something that we do on a daily basis. And we've had 5 years to get to the point of that we are at when it comes to your 4 years at uni and then your 5th year as studying as a pre-registration pharmacist. So please don't undermine us. We do know what we're talking about. So Dr. Whitford mentioned that they would expect a pharmacist to look at drug interactions. Well, yes, you're right to expect that because that is something that we do on a daily basis. When a patient gives us their prescription, not only will we see do medicines on that prescription interact with each other, we will also look at their patient medical record and check, especially if they're one of our regular patients, check if any medicines that they are currently taking interacts with this new medicine that the doctor has prescribed for them. With most of the pharmacy systems now, when you're looking at a patient's, as we call it, a PMR, their patient medical record, and you're typing in this new medication that they're going to be on, a pop-up message comes up and it will state drug A, which they are currently on, will interact with drug B and this is what it will do. It will cause major severe bleeding, or it might cause gastrointestinal disturbances, or whatever it may be. So those interactions, those alerts pop up for us, and it is something that's drilled into us to make sure that we look out and are aware of. It goes hand in hand with our practice. So Helen Goodman made a good point that if we rewind back time and look back to the days where Team Brexit were trying to shout for their campaign and get people on board, one claim that they made on the side of a bus was that they promised £350 million for the NHS. And yet this debate, which is about medicines shortages and is a very, very severe debate, is going on. So let me just check my pockets for that 350 million, eh? I think, and one thing which I found staggering that was written within that debate was that someone had said the main benefits of the protocol, so the medicine shortage protocol, would be the NHS cost savings associated with GP time. There may be some risks to patients. We live in a world where cost saving and money is being given priority over patient health and patient safety. That's not something I agree with. I don't think that's something that a lot of people agree with, and yet it's a sad reality. And I think Jonathan Ashworth has the best quote from the whole debate, which is, and I think it's something that which we can actually all agree on, and that is Brexit should not compromise patient safety in any way. What does a pharmacist do? I can guarantee you, we don't just sit there sticking labels on boxes all day. We are not glorified shopkeepers. We get given a patient prescription. We check those items on the prescription. We check that that prescription is legally valid. We check that that prescription is actually suitable for the patient in front of us, based on their age, based on their weight, based on their ethnicity. We check that there's no interactions between the medicines on that prescription or between anything else that they're taking. Even things that aren't prescribed for them, such as over-the-counter medication, any homeopathic medication, whatever else it may be, any herbal alternatives that they may be taking. We are the ones that are responsible for double-checking doctors' work. And guess what? Some doctors do make mistakes. It does happen. And that's why you have pharmacists there, because we pick up on those mistakes. We double-check doctors' works. Who double-checks a pharmacist's work? We do that too. So not only do we have the responsibility of checking doctors' work, we also have the responsibility of checking our own work too. So whilst you may undermine pharmacists' ability, whilst you may not put us as high up as doctors, whilst we get abused on a daily basis, whilst members of the public don't understand what it is that we do and they lay their frustrations out on us, we are the ones who are on the front line, who are the most accessible out of everyone in the healthcare field. We are not restricted by 10-minute appointments. We get to build up relationships and rapport with our patients. We probably know them much better than a GP does, and yet none of that is ever taken into account. We're not glory seekers. We're not looking for pats on the backs, and whilst we do get abused heavily, we still carry on doing what we're doing because we still put patients at the heart of what we do. And yet when you have targets around you and you have to perform this many services, and when money is becoming the centre instead of that patient safety, that's really scary. And that's probably something that you really need to start addressing. I want to end this on that powerful quote from Jonathan Ashworth, which is Brexit should not compromise patient safety in any way. Thank you for watching.